Well, good morning or good afternoon to everyone, depending on what part of the country you are calling in from. And we want to welcome you to the benefits of being a mortgage broker. My name is Ginger Bell, and I will be your host today. And with me, I have Greg Woolsey, who's a regional sales manager for Finance of America Wholesale. And I'll be introducing our Greg and myself in a little bit. What I want to do is cover a few housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, you can see my screen, and I'll be going through the slides today, so you do not need to do anything to actually forward the slides. And you can ask questions. We are using a new platform. Many of us in the industry are used to using GoToWebinar, and we actually found a new platform, new and improved and exciting, called Zoom. Allows us to get over 100 onto a webinar, which GoToWebinar had limited us. And so we're excited about that because we've actually had several hundred register for our webinar today. Very, very popular webinar. We're excited to share the information with you. And so it's a little bit different as far as asking questions. You're going to go into your question panel. If you obviously you can listen on your computer if you'd like to do that. If you can hear me, you've already figured it out. If you haven't, then you can read through the information here and figure out how to do that. But you can actually type questions in your question panel, and you can control what you need as far as your speakers. So get familiar with that, and let's go ahead and make sure that you all can hear me and that you know how to ask questions. And if you can, pop into that Q&A and type in there what part of the country you are calling in from. And how's your weather? I'm actually in the Pacific Northwest today, and coming off of 100-degree weather on the weekend, and now it is cloudy, but it's supposed to clear off this afternoon. So one of the joys of living in the Pacific Northwest is it is changing. So I see a couple of you are figuring out how to type in there. Very good. Thank you for that. So that's where you're going to ask questions as we go along today. And thank you so much for typing in there. And yes, Kevin, Iowa is hot and muggy, and Philly is always perfect, Thomas. Okay, so a few of you have figured out how to type in the question panel, but the main thing is, oh, and you can type in the chat too if you'd like to. So some of you are doing that as well. Either is fine. It doesn't matter to me. So that's where you're going to ask questions as we go along today. I have also put in the chat panel access to all the information we're going through today. So copy slide deck, resource flyer, how to get started as a mortgage broker, all of that in the handouts here. Let me go through that. We also have information on NAM's Kickstart program, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. So if you're interested in becoming a mortgage broker, you can have access to up to $10,000 to start your own mortgage business. So I have a handout there. I also have mortgage broker resources. So some resources, very light list, obviously a lot more, and I'm going to be talking to you about something that I'm creating that will help provide a lot of resources to those of you who are getting started. And then also I've created steps to becoming a mortgage broker, and these aren't necessarily all-inclusive, but pretty much where you need to get started, and I'm going to go through this in detail. So these are your handouts. I am your host. My name is Ginger Bell. Many of you I have had on webinars. I've been doing webinars in the mortgage industry for probably about the past 15 years. I've also had the opportunity of writing 2 books with Brian Tracy, one last year, Cracking the Success Code, and one about 4 years ago. Both are best-selling books on Amazon, and delighted to have the opportunity to do that. But really what I do is specialize in helping companies develop and implement training programs to position themselves as experts in the industry. And I am doing that as a consultant with Finance of America, and have the wonderful opportunity of working with Greg Woolsey, who's the Regional Sales Manager for Finance of America Wholesale. For those of you who do not know Greg, Greg has over 25 years of experience in the wholesale lending industry. He's always worked in wholesale. He's always worked with mortgage brokers. And one of my favorite things about Greg is this is a guy who is so committed and so passionate about the mortgage broker and wholesale. And he's actually only worked for 2 lenders. 9 of those years have been with Finance of America. So he has that proven track record. So Greg, thank you so much for joining today. I'm excited to share this information.
Well, thank you, Ginger. I appreciate it. Appreciate being a part of this. Thank you.
Great. So let's go ahead and dive in. And we're going to start out with really what the traits of a mortgage broker are. And before I get into what our traits are, what I'd like to know on our call, I'm going to launch a poll. And so you will see on your screen this poll. And I'd like to know of our attendees that are originators on this call, are you currently a mortgage broker? So, have you stayed licensed, obviously, as that state licensed mortgage loan originator? And are you currently acting as a mortgage broker? So we are just about, actually, you guys are doing great in voting. So I'm going to go ahead and close the polling here and we will share our results. So we have a very high percentage, which is great. So 64% that are on the call today are mortgage brokers, 36% are not. So that helps me to kind of know where to gear some of the information. And as we get started, Greg, you and I have talked about this, obviously. The mortgage broker characteristics, being entrepreneurial, someone who has that entrepreneurial spirit, organized. They have the ability to lead. They're risk aware, not necessarily risk adverse. The ability to market, brand, and build, and the ability to wear multiple hats. And I know you're out in the field all the time working with mortgage brokers. So of these characteristics, what are you seeing that really stands out to you for the mortgage broker?
Well, I think they're all very important in their own way. They all lend a hand in the success of being a mortgage broker. First of all, for everyone out there, thank you for being, taking the time to be a part of this webinar. My hope is that 64% of the existing mortgage brokers, that you get additional points, to enhance your value proposition in your respective communities, and walk away with some resources. And if you're considering a move into the wholesale space or going out on your own, I hope this is a much needed roadmap to get you started. These are all, like I said, these are all very important in being a mortgage broker. I think being risk aware, not risk adverse. I don't want that to be something that scares people. I think that no matter what you do or what your position is in the lending world, there's always going to be risk, and it's not something that's just associated with the wholesale lending space. But it's just having risk is all around, and it's important to know what your risks are, to be up to speed compliance-wise and so forth. But understand, I think with the regulations that we have in place, the risk factor for being a broker is really rather limited. I think these are all, like I said, these are all key components. I would say being someone, organized is a very important one, because in an organization, you need to be a multitasker. You need to be able to have the ability to talk to the borrower, the realtor, the lender, the closing agent, all while taking a new loan application for a borrower. So it's kind of putting on that multitask, organized hat. An ability to be a leader, and that it's not just a leader for you and if you have loan officers, but for your borrower. Take charge and do what's best for the borrower. I think that's very important as well.
Absolutely. And there's many benefits that go into being a mortgage broker. For me, when I consider one of the greatest benefits, it really begins with control, and then leads into that team of wholesalers who work with you and for you. And I, like you, Greg, have been involved in wholesale my entire career in the mortgage industry, and that's one of the biggest benefits. So talk about how you see that in the team of your team with Finance of America, who provide that ability to lend that support.
Well, I think this is where we really, separate ourselves from the competition. Being, being a mortgage broker, the competition being, retail banks or smaller mortgage bankers. They're very, one note, if you will, and by that I mean they sell what they have, and what they have may not be what's in the client's best interest. Borrower gets a calls the bank, and the bank offers the rates that they have for that day, and it may not be the most aggressive in the industry, and they may not have the best product menu for the borrower. The industry has evolved a little more to where it's not so much about who has the best rate. Turn times, product menu, and other sources really come into play when determining what is the best lender for your borrower. And by being a broker, you have that ability to work with several different wholesale lenders, and you can manage that process by being able to shop your lender base for the one who offers the most important aspect of the loan for the borrower. So, if you have a borrower that's super rate sensitive, well, you have the ability to look around to see who is the most sensitive, who is the best price lender out there. But it's also, as I said, it's become about what product is the best, who has the most diverse product offering. And it's important to be able to, as a broker, to be able to align yourself with those lending partners who offer that diverse product menu. So you have the lenders who can do the typical Fannie, Freddie, government, loans. You have your non-QM lenders. So if it doesn't fit one borrower or one lender's profile, then you go to the next lender. I also think branding, and you're going to hear us talk a lot about branding on this call, because I think branding is very important. Clients are big on quote unquote local these days, having a local brand.
Yep, that's really big.
Yeah, and having the local brand to be able to advertise yourself as local in the community. I mean, these are people that you'll see at the movie theaters, walking at a restaurant, having that local presence and that brand carries a lot of weight. And it means the area, you understand the local market.
Right.
It becomes a more personal experience with local branding.
Right. And consumers are looking for that. And, we're going to talk about overhead and compensation a little bit, but, really let's look at the current landscape, what it looks like. And I do a lot of training in education and compliance, have built a lot of compliance programs for companies. So I know compliance is a necessity. And it's not just a matter of the CFPB, but really at the state level. And we're seeing that in a lot of state exams now where compliance is a necessity. But the current landscape also provides those benefits to work with the wholesale lenders, just like what you were talking about, having that opportunity to work with multiple lenders, your account executives that are knowledgeable, branding at the local level. That is a #1 market trend right now that we're seeing is people want to stay and buy local. The better program options you talked about, and really, becoming that true broker. You talked in the last slide about being able to shop and look for the best program, the best options, the best turn times, whatever that best happens to be for that borrower. It's not always the rate, as you said, but truly become a broker to find that best loan program for the consumer. A good friend of mine, Andy Harris, who is a broker in Oregon, talks about really the broker is that true independent. And that's really what it is. I was getting something done on Fiverr the other day, and I said I love Fiverr and sites like that because it really allows independence and opportunity. And so that's really the focus of this too, is the broker is the independent. And one of the things too, and I know you talked about pricing, Greg. Pricing obviously is important. It's not the only thing, and all of us hate that word. It's like, okay, what's your rate? Well, what's your score, right? Pricing isn't the only thing, but really, as a mortgage broker, pricing is very competitive. And I know, when you look at the different options, it provides an opportunity to really provide some of the best rates that are out there. And then, of course, the compensation is good. When LO Comp came along, that was one of the greatest benefits, especially for brokers, because now your comp agreements are with your wholesale lender. And so the compensation as a mortgage broker is very good. Is there anything else you want to add to the current landscape there, Greg?
Well, I think you touched on a lot of good points, and the topic of pricing. I think as an industry, yes, it is important. I think we've sort of shifted away from that to a level of trust. Really, you partner when you have purchases. It doesn't. when you have a purchase loan, yes, a competitive price is important, but it's the trust you develop with your lender that they're going to get that job done and that loan closed timely. I think that becomes a key factor in that. So yes, pricing, but partnering up with the right lenders to complement your business plan, that's also important. And in terms of compliance, I think we've really molded into a very compliant industry right now. Ginger, you've been a big piece of that for us, and I appreciate everything you've done for us over the years with that. We give you the tools to really help you be compliant as well. I think to be a successful mortgage broker, it is of paramount importance that you do that, strategic partnering with the lenders who are going to help you be compliant, who are going to offer you, the best product menu for what you're looking for. Finance of America, we are a multifaceted lender. We do the Fannie, the Freddie, the government, the non-Dell correspondents for those who want to elevate their platform to the next level. The jumbo, residential, commercial. We offer just a very diverse product menu. In terms of compensation, definitely gives you definitely gives you a leg up over the competition. And the ability to effectively compete with retail.
Right. Absolutely.
We always talk about how retail is, driving the business and so forth, maybe in certain product offerings. With Finance America, you have the ability to set your compensation minimums and even maximums, and maximums become important to compete against retail environment in terms of those jumbo lenders or those jumbo loans. So that, having that flexibility really creates a competitive niche for you.
Right. Well, and talk about the risks. And you talked about compliance, Greg. One of the advantages of being a broker is that a lot of that compliance risk is on the actual mortgage wholesale lender. And so you're looking at those LEs and obviously preparing the closing disclosure. So it's not just a matter of underwriting the file, but really it's taking it through the compliance facet to be able to make sure that things are done correctly. And so as compliance is a risk, it also has a benefit of being a broker because you have someone who really has your back, because obviously you as a wholesale lender you have a slew of attorneys and compliance officers and people that are looking at those things. So, and especially for those who are considering becoming a mortgage broker, and I do a lot of training for brokers who are just getting started, and that's one of the biggest things is that as a mortgage broker, they have the ability to work with a lender that's going to make sure that things are done correctly. And so it's a great training ground. It's kind of like having those training wheels on. So even and Greg, I'm talking about every month I train individuals who are getting started as brokers that have no industry experience. And so, they're joining as a mortgage broker because it does give them that opportunity to work with a wholesale lender. So although the compliance is there, we want to make sure that you have a compliance management system, that you're monitoring, you have your policies and procedures, you have your training, all of that for your exams. But really, other than risks of buybacks, because obviously that's in your agreement, so that risk is there. We don't see that very often. But then the other primary risk is cash flow. So if you're getting started as a mortgage broker, what you want to do is to make sure that you have enough cash flow, as you would in any business. It's like 25 years ago, I opened a Subway franchise. I had to make sure that I had enough cash flow to make it through at least 6 months, because when you start a business, it's going to take a while before you actually are able to start seeing the rewards. And so really when you look at that, that's the rewards we're looking at are just that. And this again is a recap of what you talked about. Your control, your client, not an employee, the support and guidance and education. I know you're going to talk about that, Greg, in a little bit. Compensation, we talked about branding. This is a big one that we haven't talked about, and that's legacy. Something to sell when you're ready to retire. And I think that's something that is a really big focus is you're starting a business, right? So it's an opportunity for you to build it. And Greg, we talked about that a little bit. So if you want to key on the next one, the ability to build what you want.
Yeah, and I, in my 25 years of doing this, I have seen a lot of this. I've seen a lot of that legacy where clients have sold off their businesses, and it's something to be very proud of to see something that you build, and myself a part of that, being a partner to them, to see them sell that business off and for them to go off and retire and do their thing and someone else to continue that legacy and build it on their own. It's pretty rewarding and something that I've had the pleasure of being around. Again, as I had mentioned earlier, the personal branding is something we're going to just really talk about a lot. Personal branding is a big deal in the local community, as I had said before, and it goes a long way in the referral sourcing. People want to refer local, and and I think in most U.S. towns, there is a local mortgage broker that is part of the community. Their brand is very important to them, and these are the folks that are out there. They're coaching the little leagues, they're getting involved in community benefits, or doing whatever, and more importantly, what they're doing is they're delivering a service, and generally delivering it at a sharper price than the banks can do it.
Exactly. So before we get started, as far as steps to becoming a mortgage broker, we do have a couple of questions that I want to address. Dean asks to distinguish the terms that we're using between mortgage broker and loan originator. So loan originator is just that, a licensed loan originator. So you have your NMLS unique identifier number, and you could work for a mortgage broker, you could work for a banker, and a loan originator who is registered with the NMLS can also work for a bank. So that's an individual. When we're talking mortgage broker, we're talking broker owner, so the independent broker owner. And each state, and I'm going to get into this in a little bit too, as far as licensing and things like that, each state has different requirements to be licensed as a mortgage broker. But when you think of mortgage broker, you think of broker owner. So Dean, hopefully that answers your questions. And then also, Greg, Anna asks that she's wondering if we see the new CFPB changes will be giving more control back to the broker for upfront disclosures and for shopping for a variety of lenders. And I'm going to actually let you think about that one before we get an answer to that.
And yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that. But as we're going through this, I'm going to actually launch a poll, and for those of you who are considering, or not brokers, considering becoming brokers or not considering, there's a poll up. I just want to know, have you been a broker in the past? And so this is for those individuals who are our 36% who are not existing brokers, if you can answer this. And are you considering becoming a broker in the future? So if you're a licensed loan originator, not a mortgage broker owner, are you considering becoming a broker and becoming independent in the future? And so while you're weighing on that, we have an anonymous question that asks, I'm curious what it takes for a new broker to be able to offer FHA loans. And so that is a really big requirement, and I think Greg will probably, maybe you can talk a little bit about that offline, but you can still do FHA loans. You can offer all of the programs that you offer as a broker. So it's not that you have to be approved by FHA, right?
It used to be that way years ago, yeah. But you don't. You pretty much, piggyback off the wholesaler. We do require certain things to be met because HUD does require, certain things, but you don't need to be HUD approved on your own if you're a broker in order to offer FHA.
Right. So another great advantage is you can offer everything, including
Mm-hmm.
commercial, because I know as Finance of America, you also have the ability to offer a commercial product, right?
Yeah, we have a residential, commercial, fix and flips. We have just, it's just a wide product menu, and that I had mentioned earlier as being a key component when you're working or when you're shopping for a new lender to work with, is one that just isn't very, one note, Fannie Freddie. You want someone who offers a wide array of products, kind of a one-stop shop for you and your client.
Right. So I'm sharing the poll results here. And so for those of you who are not currently brokers, have you been a broker in the past? Then 35% yes, 65% no. And are you considering becoming a broker in the future? 60% yes, 15% no, and 25% are considering. And you know what, guys, this is not new. We're starting to see this as a trend. With really things that have subsided with the CFPB. Now, everything's kind of in place, that we're starting to see a lot of trend of brokers that are coming back into the industry. And you look at, franchises like Motto Mortgage that is selling a mortgage broker franchise, and it is the broker model that we're starting to see this. So truly a trend that we're starting to see in the industry. So with that trend in mind, let's talk about what steps you need to take to become a mortgage broker. And so I like to start out with licensing. Not that you're going to get your license right now, but you need to know what your state licensing timelines are, and you need to research your state licensing requirements. And here's why. There are some states, and I have been working with many, many, many individuals who are coming back into the industry as mortgage broker or just getting started. Like states like New York, it's forever to get your broker's license. They just take a really long time, because it's not just a matter of getting it through the NMLS, then it goes to the state, and then the state has to approve it. There's also different requirements. So depending on the state that you're in, there may be different timelines. We are seeing some states where it's just, within 30 days, you're approved, you have your license, you're good to go. Some states have brick and mortar requirements, and so you want to know what that is. And the reason why is because you obviously want to be able to plan that out. Once you know what those requirements are, then you want to select a business name. So again, this is that opportunity for you to consider, hey, this is my branding. This is me. This is what I want to do. And so you want to make sure it's an available name, check your state registry. You want to look for domains. What URL are you going to use? What's available? Search for registered names. Do some business planning on that. And then determine your business structure. So how is it that you're going to be structured? Are you going to be a sole proprietorship, LLC, partnership, S Corp, C Corp? And remember to check for your state licensing requirements. Other requirements is surety bonds. And so we have a comment here from someone who was getting their broker's license last year, and fell short of funds to cover the surety bond. So you have to make sure that you have funds available for that. That's why I put the licensing up front, that's the first thing, because there's no sense in you going through all these other steps if you don't have funds to cover the surety bond. So then, okay, make sure, wait a year, plan for it, put your money aside, now you're ready to go. But check out what the requirements are first, that way you know. Or maybe you bring in a business partner. Those are the kind of things that you can consider as well. Then find your location. And really, because we live in a world now where we have the opportunity to work remote, and there's different things. Greg, you and I talked about the regency or regents
Regis.
Regis, thank you. The Regis
Yeah.
offices. So you could have this really awesome office and somebody that answers the phone and everything. And the nice thing is with that, if you, want one on one side of town and one on the other side of town, if you're looking at, getting into two different markets, you can do that and it's very affordable. You can also set it up if you have a loan originator that's on the other side of town, they can have an office. So there's lots of opportunities. Consider location. Consider location with that locality that Greg's been talking about to be able to establish a presence there. And cost. Make sure that you have something that you can scale up, scale down. So, you start out, if it's just you, that's fine, what you can grow to, and those kind of businesses give you the opportunity to do that. And make sure you review your lease agreements too. And check for timelines, requirements, things like that. Then what you'll want to do is write a business plan. And so I'm going to talk to you about the NAM Kickstart program. So you have an opportunity for that $10,000, but one of the requirements is you have to have a business plan. And, it's so important. I used to be a corporate trainer with Dale Carnegie Training, and one of the things that I always found amazing when we told people or did training, Greg, was that people would spend more time planning their vacation than they would planning their life. And so spend the time, put some time into it. Consider your growth, your marketing, your compliance, things like that. We're working on some templates to be able to help give you an idea for it. But spend the time, write a business plan, have an idea of what you're doing and what you're building and how you're going to grow. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, and if I may just add to that, because I think it's important. We all might have this grand plan in our head of what we want to do and how we want to do it. But to your point of writing the business plan, it gives you a degree of accountability.
Right.
It gives you that roadmap that's, staring at your face, whether it's on your desk, on your computer. It really becomes a motivating factor when you're staring at that business plan. Once you've written it, you're going to retain more of that information once you write it, because rather than having it in your head, a lot of these plans are going to flow to paper, and you're going to start thinking more and putting it on paper, and that becomes really a recipe for success for you. And I think it's very important to have that written down.
And to go back to it as well. I know I helped an individual write a business plan for a territory he was taking over last year. And he and I just had a coaching meeting a couple weeks ago. And I said, okay, where are you at on your milestones? Let's bring those out. Let's take a look at those. Do you need to adjust? And it's funny because every single thing he'd put down there, he had accomplished it. And he didn't realize that because he's kind of like, I'm not doing, very well. I should be doing more. I said, hey, you hit every single benchmark. So now let's go back and set new benchmarks. So having that written down does make a huge difference. So setting up your business, and Anna, you talked about this. So your bond, your surety bond, your insurance, your licensing, bank account, website, social media, marketing, all of those things you need to think about. All of those things you need to be prepared. So you need to have that money put aside. You're starting a business. And so you want to make sure to have a little cushion for yourself as well. So don't just go into this haphazardly. Realize that you are starting a business. You are building it. And you have great experience that you bring into this, but make sure you plan accordingly in all that you need to do. Compliance management system, I've been training on this for a long, long time. Make sure you have your policies and procedures that are based on your size. So you don't have to have, obviously all that like Finance of America does, because you're not doing all the type of business that they are. Make sure you're doing training your staff, especially on your policies and procedures. Monitoring is a big piece, and that's really what state examiners want to know. What are you doing to monitor to make sure that your staff's adhering to your policies and procedures? And you can outsource this. You don't have to do this, but it is important to have. You need to have it for your state exams and for many of your wholesale broker agreements. And especially if you are looking at applying for that $10,000 that NAM has available, then you'll need that as well. Now that you've done all your research and your planning, now you're going to get your license. So we're not going to start out at licensing. We're actually going to do our research. We're going to find out what the requirements are. We're going to get our plan in place. Then we're going to get our license. And then once you have your license, then you have the opportunity to go and establish those wholesale relationships. And you'll want to go through your broker comp agreements. They'll want business plans. They'll want policies and procedures. They want your training. And so that's why you want to make sure that you have all of this in place. Now, if you are considering bringing a team along with you and you'll have employees, then you'll want to consider salaries. You'll need to make sure and have LO comp agreements. I advise that you have those drafted by an attorney. It's good to have benefits, and then obviously you'll need to have someone that's overseeing payroll. So again, it's a matter of you are setting up a business. But the great advantage is you're not in it alone. You have the opportunity to work with a wholesale lender. And so, the bottom line at the end of the day, Greg, no one gets paid until the loan funds, right? So,
Right.
so you wholesale lenders are truly, truly, truly on your team, and they provide that communication, the pricing you talked about. You choose the compensation, and you also get to choose who you work with. I think it's very important. So talk about that a little bit, Greg, and then obviously you talked about program options, but your dedicated team.
Well, I think it's important to, when you're looking at establishing wholesale relationships, is just not to go after the one who comes in touting the best interest rates. You want to work with a lender who offers, like you had mentioned, the best support structure, a very good account executive, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Someone whose product offering is something that's really what you're looking for. If the lender you're looking at happens to have the great jumbo pricing, but you're in a market that doesn't even look at jumbo, what's the point? You really want to focus your relationships and building your partnerships with who is going to complement your business the most.
Exactly. And the key to that team is the role that the account executive plays, because they are on your team, truly the industry expert. So, and I know, for me, I didn't start out as an account executive, but I've been an account executive as well as a sales manager. And one of the keys is your AEs know how to structure loans. So what some of the other tools, roles that they play?
And I'll tell you, this is one that I'm very passionate about. Like I said, I've been in the lending space for 25 years. I've been an AE for over 23 of those, all in the same territory. I haven't moved my territory. And as Ginger stated in my bio, I've only been with 2 companies doing it. But what really is the big deal and a big part of success is relationships. And the role of an AE I think it's really kind of morphed over the years. Back when I started, you go in, you make your sales calls, you answer program questions, quote rates, and and you're done. And you call when they call you, you answer. But the role has shifted from the AE to a business partner, and I really believe that is the appropriate title for account executive, is a business partner, someone who is going to invest in you. And that's what you need to be looking for when you're out there looking at your lenders. As I had stated earlier, a good AE now will do everything that we just talked about doing before, the sales calls and so forth. But they're also going to be the one that keeps you aware of, changes, who are the product experts, the industry experts, who will talk about trends and who also want to be a part of your company success story. Also, I think it's good for someone a well-rounded account executive would know the competition, be able to be there for you to say, hey, look, I can't do this, but I know who can.
So be that resource. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think the role of that partnership is if you have a great AE who is willing to invest in your time and your business model, then that's who you want to align with. That is key.
Exactly. So We're going to talk about locating resources. And before we do that, I have a question up here that I want to address, talking about a little bit about licensing. And so George types in, as a broker, can I hire a loan officer with NMLS only, or the loan officer has NMLS and BRE real estate agent? So in California, you have two. So you have the California BRE license, which includes your NMLS and your real estate license. Most mortgage brokers are licensed under there. So if you are licensed under there, then your loan officers also have to have that dual license. So there's also the California Department of Banking that has a license that is just the NMLS. So depending how you get licensed, I can tell you most everyone gets licensed under California BRE as a mortgage broker. So they would need to have both of those requirements, which basically is one of those things to consider. That's why I always say look into your licensing first and make sure what the requirements are. The biggest change, the biggest difference between the California BRE is mostly education, 45 hours of continuing education over a 4-year period, in addition to the NMLS. So, George, you can reach out to me too if you have some additional questions. And really, if any of you have an additional question. So, for those of you, many of you on the call, I've worked with for many, many years. I've been involved in the industry for many years, developing training programs, going through all the different regulatory changes that we've been through. I've had many, many ask me to create kind of a broker in a box, which back in, I think, 2011, we had started designing a broker in the box that had the resources to become a broker. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I've started a website. It's called mortgagetoolkit.net. And in it, I am creating a broker in a box. And it's going to be a whole consolidation of products that are designed to assist a broker in opening an office. And so it has all the essentials that'll get you up and running. I'm working on getting all of these together right now. I've been compiling a lot of these because I have been working with a lot of individuals who are becoming brokers. And so we'll do our full launch in September, just so I can have the summer to get everything together. But then also I'm creating a mortgage broker toolkit. And so again, resources, guides, training, marketing, checklists, things like that for the independent mortgage broker. And the idea is to be able to provide you with the marketing, the resources, the tools that you would normally have with a larger company, creating those for you, but have them available for you as an independent. So you can go on to mortgagetoolkit.net. There's a registration form that I have there. Sign up. Let me know what you're interested in. Let me know what you need. That's probably the biggest thing. And let's just get this started. But I know that's one of the things Finance of America said, hey, Ginger, where you at with this? Like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just get it started. And that's really how the NAM Kickstart got started too, is, obviously to get started in a business, you need to be able to have access to not only the tools and resources, but also the funds to get started. And so NAM has what they call NAM Kickstart, and it's an independent mortgage program facilitated by lenders in the industry that are helping to fund this. And it's you can get up to $10,000 to start your own mortgage business. There are some requirements. So you need a minimum of 3 years experience working in the mortgage industry. You have to have a comprehensive business plan. And this is one of those things that you're going to have to do anyway, but this is a requirement that they have because they want to know what you're doing for your startup costs, what your staffing is, what you expect for your production. And then you need 2 letters of reference. I know that they have already given funds out, I think, to 5 mortgage brokers that are getting started. And so it's a great opportunity. You can find out information on this at namkickstart.com. So let's recap the top reasons to be a mortgage broker. And again, Greg, I'm so excited about this because I really see this as a trend that's happening and a great opportunity for those who have that mindset. So if you want to go down kind of the opportunities here.
Yeah, I think And I agree with you. I think we are really starting to see a trend of folks really getting back into the wholesale platform, and it is a very exciting time. This is a great business channel and a great opportunity uh, to really, let's just say, like I said, localize your platform into your communities. I think it's a huge opportunity. Um, as I have kind of stated throughout this presentation, um, wholesale brokers have a tremendous advantage over the competition. Your options are far more expanded, really than that of a direct lender, as we had talked about earlier. I think partnering up with the right lender who offers that diverse product selection, the training, and the support is going to be a huge factor for you. Being able to set your compensation, to be competitive, having those, with FAM, having a Finance America, having the ability to set maximum so you're competitive in the jumbo arena, stuff like that is something that's really big. Power of networking. Again, I can't say it enough in here, but that networking and selling your local brand will create a very big success story for you, and then that kind of turns into that whole legacy thing, something that you're going to work, you're going to build, and then when it's time to say I'm done, go retire on that beach in Hawaii, well, there you go. It's something you can sell off and be proud of that. And again, back, with the whole support, the pricing, you control so much of that by having lenders at your disposal. So when a borrower comes to you, if it's something that lender A can't do, then you come to another lender and you start looking to see what you can do. You have that control. And when you're in a bank platform, you can't do it. Well, then it's I'm sorry, borrower, I can't help you. A handshake and let's go elsewhere. You have the ability to work with lenders to get that job done.
And to find the lender that really provides that as well, which is so important. So let's talk about benefits of working with FAM Wholesale.
Yeah, it's this is right up
There's
right
a
up
lot.
the hill. There's a lot, and I can keep talking.
Right.
I have been here almost since the beginning of the company, back when we were really a small regional lender. And what drew me to this company, and what I think is of the utmost important, is really our core value and our culture in how we do business. Earning your trust and being a valued partner to you is really what it's all about, in my opinion. The culture and doing the best job we can for the borrower. I think with our diverse product offering, and consistently competitive pricing, and our ability not really just to meet your expectation, but our drive to exceed your expectation, it really has rewarded Finance of America as being one of the top non-bank lenders in the country, and really the trust and deep-rooted relationships with our partners. And I think that's very important. We are customer-focused, and we get the job done. And in the end, you want to be with a lender that you can trust. And with Finance America, you're getting the full package.
Exactly. Yeah. And resources are so important too, which I know you have an incredible marketing team, great resources available that goes through the various programs. I've been delighted to be able to build with your team the Finance of America University, which is the very first of its kind online training portal for a wholesale lender, and so many different resources that are available there as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's the whole we're always keeping our our AEs keeping us abreast of what changes they're happening and what they're looking for in terms of training material. And we're going out there if we see something that is an opportunity for us to train on, whether it's VA or any certain compliance or whatever it might be. We really do our best to put that together for our partners.
Right. So before we go into connecting with FAM, I've got a couple of questions. So
Mhm.
Thomas is asking, does a broker have to pay an LO a salary, or can they be paid a flat percentage on each loan they close? So that's you. So Thomas, you as a mortgage broker create your LO comp. There you want, honestly, I would work with an attorney in designing it to make sure that you're covered and you're meeting everything, and you know decide how that is. But that's you and your choice in what you do. As a mortgage broker, you have the same guidelines that everyone else does under LO comp, so you can decide what that is. And but again, I would definitely work with an attorney to get those LO comp agreements that you have with your LOs drafted. And so, and then also we have a question, is this being recorded? And I'm getting lots of great comments. Wish this class was available last year. You're sorry we we're just getting started now, but you know what, guys? Let us know what you need. I think that's really the biggest thing. And I'm loving all the comments that you're putting out here. Asking if it's being recorded. You have someone you want to send it to. Yes, we are recording this. Yes, we will have tools available. And so you really want to be able to get connected. Obviously, Finance of America, very passionate about providing those tools, whether you're getting started as a mortgage broker, getting started as a non-delegated correspondent, or continuing on in your business. Have all those great opportunities. And so start at FAM Wholesale. I have the link on here. So once you get to FAM Wholesale, click on Become a Partner. If you click on this link right here, that'll take you there. Obviously, get in touch with Greg, his great team, find your local account executive. What else, Greg, as far as getting started with FAM?
Yeah, it's as simple as that. What we do is once you click on that link, we will get the information passed through to us pretty quickly. And based on where your area is, we will have an account executive call you right away, talk to you about getting set up with Finance of America, and it really, we're real, like I said, broker centric. Our process to get approved is a, is a very not, I don't want to say easy, but it's a very good process. It's not, we're not going to spin you around and around for 3 months to do that. It's it's a real easy process to get dialed in with us.
Exactly. So one of the things I'm getting questions on as far as recommendations, CRM, social media marketing, and again, I'm loving everything you guys are putting out here. So I've got some calls going on with CRM companies. I've got a couple calls on Friday. Social media. What I'm setting up under the mortgage toolkit is going to be a full resource, and it's going to be an interactive community. I'm so excited about this. And it's actually, I have Troy McLean, who was a broker in the past, was on The Apprentice, some of you, who's working on helping me develop this. So very excited about this. I'm going to go through handouts real quick. Greg, final notes that you want to say.
I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak in front of all you and to be a part of this with you. Finance of America is committed to providing the best opportunity and the best success for you, and your customers should you decide to get into that broker space. If you're not yet in there, or if you are in there and you're looking to come aboard and work with Finance of America, we are very committed. And I think you will find that working with us is really about developing a trust commitment to you to make your life easier and to get the job done for you. So I really appreciate all the time and everyone's time on this call, and look forward to connecting with you and working with you in the future.
Absolutely, likewise. And Greg, thank you to you and to Finance of America Wholesale for providing this opportunity to bring this information out here. I know we'll do it again. As I said, we've had hundreds of you sign up for this webinar, and we are getting like so much feedback on this. Really see it as a trend. Want to make sure that we're helping to provide those resources. So go to mortgagetoolkit.net, and that's mortgagetoolkit.net. and register. And then once you're registered there, then we'll get in touch with you. I'm going to be sending out surveys, polls, feedback. We're going to create some focus groups, things, not just for those who are getting started as a mortgage broker, but if you are a mortgage broker and are looking for additional tools and resources, where are you getting bottlenecked at? What would be most beneficial to help you? Facebook, and my gosh, you guys are like typing like crazy here. So social media marketing, important one. Facebook, lead gen, CRM, I'm seeing all that. Things like slide decks, first time homebuyer seminars, things like that, besides the marketing. Those are kind of things that we can help as far as putting those together. So, Greg, thank you so much. Truly, truly,
You're
truly
welcome.
appreciate your passion and your commitment to our industry. And thank you to Finance of America Wholesale. And thank you to all of you that are on the call. I wish you a very, very wonderful weekend, 4th of July weekend. May you have a great time with friends and family. And God bless America and the country we live in to provide us with this opportunity. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing you on a webinar again soon.